World of Tanks Blitz is turning 7 very, very soon, and with that, we have been seeing a lot of great events to get not only free premium and collector vehicles, but as well days of premium, gold boosters, and everything else like that. But this is only the beginning. The shooting gallery, where you're able to get your hands on the Tier 5 Panzer IV Gargoyle, that's just the tip of the iceberg for the events that are going to be coming for Blitz Turn 7. If we make our way back to the tent, you'll see we've got the Strength-O-Meter, opening June 21st, same for the souvenir stall. Now, to what I'm aware, you are not able to get all the things for free on the souvenir stall, but the Strength-O-Meter is how you will be able to get your hands on the Kunze Panzer, the Tier 7 German light tank, for absolutely free. It will be a premium as well, so that's really, really solid. Now, if you wanted to see what the Kunze Panzer looks like, this is an HD view of the vehicle. It's actually a very nice looking tank, and as you'll notice by the shape of that gun, it's almost identical, if we go back to Blitz, to the RU-251, and what I'm aware, it's a pretty similar tank to the RU-251. There's the guns. You can see they're almost identical looking wise, and they're going to play very, very similar as well. But the weird thing is that this tank actually has some armor going for it. Hull down with its 10 degrees of gun depression, that upper plate is actually 153 millimeters thick. And unless you're using a 122 millimeter or higher, you will not be able to overmatch that upper plate, which means that Tier 6 mediums and light tanks will actually end up bouncing your upper plate, as most of them are sitting at around 140, 135 millimeters a pen. It actually can be very troll on that upper plate. And as well, that means that high explosive shells, unlike the RE-251, will not be penetrating the upper plate, or at that, the lower plate of this vehicle. It's about 78 millimeters effective, which is pretty dang strong. That means that unless you're using a vehicle like the SU-152 or the Smasher, HE is actually going to be very hard to penetrate on the front of this tank, but you can get through the turret in a couple spaces. Now the side, yeah, that's where armor is just nowhere. There's 30 millimeters in the side, and the rear is 20 millimeters, so yeah, really only the front is where you're going to expect to get bounces. I kind of expect this thing to get bounces like a Bat Chatillon 25T, where it doesn't really get bounces, it's just more like you get a troll bounce here and there. But I don't know. We'll have to see how it is when it does come out. I've talked to a couple testers on the vehicle. They actually think it's a very, very strong vehicle. And to what I'm aware, it has not been changed since it's been in testing. But I could be wrong on that. There's always so many changes that are going on with like the Turtle, other vehicles. You know, we've had the LT-432. This vehicle might have seen a change. Let me know in the comments if I did mess up on that. Now, if we go over to Blitz Stars, the most comparable vehicle I could show to the Kunze Panzer is actually a T6 Dracula. I was going to do a Type 62, but I was like, well, it's got a lot more DPM. The Alpha is very different. It's just a much different tank. So yeah, the Dracula is actually a very similar tank. Now, obviously the Dracula has very different armor on the fact that you literally can't high explosive the Dracula. It's covered in spaced armor all around. You can see that here. That's all spaced. And even though it's only this tiny little bit of thickness, what it means is that you're actually able to get these really, really troll bounces on it, which is impressive for the Dracula. And of course, HE will never pen the sides. But that does not shy away that these vehicles are very similar on their penetration values, their DPM, and everything very similar. So the DPM is actually higher on the Kunze Panzers, 2,290, about 7% more than the Dracula. Nothing insane, but it is pretty solid. The only thing I do not like about the Kunze Panzer is that it shoots heat, where the Dracula has APCR. APCR is a much more reliable round, especially at the lower tiers. It's very easy to cut through vehicles like Smashers and Gravediggers, where heat shells, they will struggle a little bit, but if you're running calibrated like me, ooh mama, 259 millimeters is not going to struggle whatsoever. Now, does this vehicle have good HE pen? It's actually pretty solid. I'm going to be honest there, 60 millimeters is much more than I thought it would be. It's not spectacular, but if you are going to run calibrated, that means that your 66 millimeters of pen will cut easily through the sides and rears of any mediums and light tanks in Tier 7. And even Tier 8, that's actually very impressive. I was thinking about it because obviously the RU-251 in Tier 8 carries that special type of high explosive shells with 102 millimeters of pen. I was like, there's no way they gave it to this tank. So, no, they did not, but it's still pretty solid on the HE penetration, especially when you compare it to the Dracula, which has the exact same alpha damage. Is the alpha the same as well? It's 270 and 270. So yes, the HE alpha is the same. That's nothing spectacular. So, you can see the shell velocity. It's nothing great. It's 805 in the premium, and of course, because the Dracula gets APCR, it's much faster, so that's something to keep in mind. Aiming time, though, is better than the Dracula, and as well, dispersion is a lot better. It's almost 10% better, but to counter that, it's got worse on-movement dispersion. So what do I have to say? I think it's going to even out, honestly. I think the dispersion is much nicer for the Kunze Panzer, but because it's got much worse on-movement dispersion, because you're using a light tank, you're going to have to sit a little bit longer to hit your shells in the Kunze, which is going to be a little bit more annoying. The speed forwards, though, 70 kilometers per hour. That is what I call fast, but it's half of the power-to-weight ratio pretty much of the Dracula. You can see here it's 26, and the Dracula is literally 54% higher on that power to weight at 40.01. So it's great, but at the same time, it is bad. Like, it's a fantastic power to weight ratio, but the thing that really makes the Dracula overpowered is that insane power to weight. So it definitely is a little bit lackluster there. And in fact, the best way to compare it is if we get out a vehicle like the RU-251, it's almost identical to the RU. And as we all know, the RU-251, it's very fast in top speed. In fact, probably the fastest tank in the game now that I think about it, but it takes so long to accelerate up to its top speed, it rarely ever reaches it. So I would rate the Kunze Panzer more on acceleration like a Type 62 Dragon, more like the Dracula. Other than that, there's really nothing special about this tank. You can see the win rate's very high, and same for the average damage, but of course this was only by 18 players because it was in testing, compared to the 168,000 more people using, or 16,000 more people using, you know, the Dracula, percentage-wise at least. So, yeah, what do I have to say about the Kunze Panzer? I actually think that this is a great-looking vehicle. It's comparable to the Dracula, and when you're able to compare a vehicle to the Dracula, that's already fantastic. And by the way, this thing has fantastic camouflage ratio, which is great. Sure, it doesn't have as many hit points as the Dracula, but that camouflage is going to make it so good. This is like the new and improved Type 62 Dragon. I actually think it's going to be an extremely strong Tier 7 premium, especially if you know how to work it correctly. I think it's going to be great. But that, of course, is my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think about the Kunze Panzer in the comments down below. I think it's going to kind of be like a Tier 7 RU-251, but the thing is that it actually has more armor, and the DPM is really, really close. It's only about 200 less damage per minute. So overall, I'm very excited for it, and the fact that you're able to get it for free is great. Now, you might be wondering, how do I get my hands on the Kunze Panzer? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The way it works is you're able to choose when you start the event. So it opens up on the 21st, but you're able to choose what day, I think during that week, you actually do it. And the first 10 battles you play, it marks up your damage. So you have to average, I think, 2,500 damage, and you get the tank for free. Now, I'm not 100% on this. This is what was posted by Blitz post, and of course the Discord, so I'm just rewording it. So yeah, if you average 2,500 damage, you should be able to get your hands on the vehicle, at least if you do that for 10 games. So I would suggest either play an overpowered Tier 7, like the Smasher, the Annihilator, or go up to Tier 10 and play a very strong vehicle, let's say like the T110E5, the T57 Heavy. Doesn't say anything about wins or losses, so I'd suggest to do a damage farming tank, and it should be quite easy for you to get your hands on it for free, and that's great. Now, the other part of the event, you're able to get your hands on the P43 Anniversary, and as well, the Y5, Y7 ELC, stuff like that. It's going to be quite easy to get those as well. I think you just have to, like, spend a little bit of gold. I'm not sure exactly on those tanks. Neither is Blitz Post it is? Yeah. I always get confused because there's Blitz Post, Blitz Hanger, and Blitz Stars, and I'm always like, ugh. But yeah, overall, great job to Wargaming. There's some things I disagree with they do, but this is one thing I really, really am happy about, especially because finally got my hand on that green camouflage. I've been waiting forever to get my hands on this camouflage. Yay! So hopefully all of you have been enjoying the content leaking by Wargaming. But other than that, hopefully all of you are doing well out there. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.